Welcome to Behind the Muscle podcast. Today's guest is an NPC bodybuilder and online coach. Today's guest is Jon Irizarry. Jon, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me, man.
For sure, Jon. So excited to chop it up with you. The first question that I have for you is, who are a few of your favorite bodybuilders of all time?
Man, I would definitely have to say Ronnie would be number one, just because, I'm from where he's from here in Arlington, Texas. So he's definitely the local legend, obviously the greatest of all time, the GOAT. Branch Warren, super awesome guy. Obviously, same thing here, local legend as well, Johnny Jackson. I would say outside of those, Kevin Levrone. Kevin Levrone would be like one of my top favorite bodybuilders. I don't really have much, man. I feel like that would be it. I feel like that's definitely it.
Very cool, man. So obviously Ronnie Coleman Branch are kind of, apparent in terms of because of where you live, but why Kevin Levrone?
To be honest, man, I feel like my physique kind of emulates his a little bit. And then I've always just been a fan of his. I've been a fan of his work ethic. I always found it very intriguing how he was able to kind of just, go about his life. And then once the Olympia came, it was like game on, put 60 pounds of muscle, like do some otherworldly stuff, man, and just create a physique that's, that was, capable of winning. I mean, he obviously placed second, I think twice at the Olympia. Yeah. So, yeah,
Very
he
cool.
was just, I love this, his aesthetics. I love the posing. I love his attitude, the whole bit.
Excellent, man. At what age, Jon, did you start lifting weights? And then why did you start lifting weights at that age?
Man, I started working out at around 11, 12 years old. Very young. To be honest, it was just more so for sports. I played football whenever I was a kid. And, I wanted to get stronger, for obviously, athletic purposes. And I just love to push myself, and then I got introduced to bodybuilding at 15. And I did my first show when I was 16 years old. So, yeah. I like I said, I've been working out since that age. And my mother actually was like the main influence. She would take me to the gym with her, and I would be stuck in the kids club. And I was just like, man, I want to be out there. So, whenever I turned 12, they kind of faked my age, because I think you have to be 14 to get a membership at the gym. So they said I was 14. I was able to get a membership, and I've been working out ever since.
I love that, man. So I like to use that question, Jon, just to kind of transition into talking about your childhood. So you already mentioned football. You mentioned your mom's influence in terms of her bringing you to the gym, but talk a little bit more about your childhood. Talk about maybe some of the sports that you played outside of football. Maybe any positive influences from that childhood up to about high school, and then we'll move on from there.
Man, so yeah, just growing up, I played multiple sports: baseball, football. When I got to middle school, I started I played basketball as well for the team. Track and field, I threw discus. I was top 3 in my district at throwing discus at that time. And then, like I said, whenever I got involved, let me scratch that. I think it was sophomore year, I decided to play tennis, something completely different from football. It was around that time whenever I was introduced to bodybuilding.
So talk to me a little bit then more about your mom, because you said that she brought you to the gym when you were a little kid and stuff. How did she get into strength training, and did she ever compete, or did she just do it more for the health of it?
Yeah, just the health and well-being. It's funny because she had a subscription to Muscle and Fitness. And we had years and years of subscriptions just sitting on, in the bookcase. But I never really put 2 and 2 together as far as that and bodybuilding. Because now that I go back and look at the covers, obviously these are bodybuilders that are on the covers. But yeah, that's how I was introduced to just health and fitness in general. And then whenever I was playing football, I was always in great shape. but I never had like a full on six pack. And that's kind of actually, it's funny because I was talking to one of my clients the other day, and he was like, I just want a six pack, man. Like, that's my goal. And I'm like, it's funny because that's how it started for me. It was like, I just wanted a six pack. So like, I started to look into like, obviously nutrition and stuff. I started reading the magazines and getting some tips and tricks and stuff from there. And I started implementing them I believe from the beginning of my sophomore year to the end of my sophomore year. I ended up dropping about like 30 pounds. I got down to about, I think it was like 190, if I remember correctly. I got down to about 160. But I mean, ripped, obviously, at that age. And I mean, and it was definitely exciting. So I'm like, finally, I've been able to achieve this goal of having, full on 8-pack at this point. And obviously, people would notice at school, like everyone was just like, wow, like, what have you been doing that you've, been able to just like completely turn your physique around? And because I was known as the swole tennis player. Even though I was 160 pounds, I still had like, peaks to my biceps and stuff, from lifting and whatnot. And yeah, I feel like, I don't know, I feel like I'm going off on a tangent here. But as far as you mentioned, my mother, she never really got involved in the sport of bodybuilding or anything. Like I said, it was just more so for just the health and wellness. And, she still keeps it consistent till this day.
That's awesome, man. So outside of your mom, Jon, were there any other positive influences in your childhood in terms of maybe another family member or a coach or a teacher or anything like that?
My brother, he was in, playing football, into powerlifting, and I would actually go lift with him sometimes. He was very strong, he was also very consistent. But despite those two, I would say that's pretty much it. I mean, everything that I've done has been because of me.
Excellent, man. So talk to me. You said you first competed at the age of 16. Talk about that first competition. How was that for you?
Man, it was fun. So I did the Ronnie Coleman Classic when I was 16 years old. So how did this kind of transpire? So I got introduced to the sport of bodybuilding. This guy randomly came up to me at the gym one day and was like, man, like, have you ever thought about doing bodybuilding? Like I said, at this point, I had no clue what it was, to be honest. And he invited me to go to the show that he was competing at that weekend, which was the Southwest USA. This was before they turned it into the Europa, so 2005. And I believe Branch Warren won that year, and then Quincy Taylor got second or got third, and Tony Freeman got second. At that point, the pros didn't intrigue me so much. I actually thought it was actually quite gross. Obviously your perspective changes over time. But what really got me into wanting to actually do it was the amateurs. So whenever I saw them on stage, it was, like I said, I was able to see like, wow, these people are obviously someone I can relate to because they're, much, more normal sized human beings, and, absolutely ripped and shredded. And that's kind of what inspired me. So I would say after that show, I collected all the free stuff. This was back in the day when they used to actually give you free shit. I went home and, I went about my business and started, like I said, looking to put on some more size. Because like at that time, I told you I'd kind of dropped down and I got fairly thin. And then instantly, man, like I was able to put on like 20 pounds relatively easy. My body just responded very well. Because I mean, I was technically, I'm not going to say starving myself, but I was definitely keeping myself down as far as like just weight and stuff, just because, I like to be conditioned. And I was still playing tennis at the time. So I had to make sure that I was able to maintain my athleticism, my quickness, and, just everything that involved, tennis. I was the #1 player at the team at the time. So yeah, I signed up. So I saw a poster at the gym the following year, 2006. And I believe it was like 8 weeks out for the Ronnie Coleman. This was back again when you would see posters at the gym, at the commercial gyms. Nowadays, it's not so much the case. And yeah, I saw the sign and I was like, dude, I'm going to sign up for this. And I actually had a buddy of mine that I went to high school with that, like was like, hey, let's do it together. So believe it or not, this 24-hour fitness that I was going to, I don't know if you guys, like, if you're familiar with the, like, Ronnie Coleman's old videos. And like, so the short little loudmouth guy that would put his plates on and count his reps and stuff, Lee, he trained at the gym. So he, I guess he overheard me talking one day and was like, he's like, oh, you want to do a bodybuilding show? So he put me through some workouts, absolutely murdered me, killed me, man. Like, it was like to the point where I didn't want to come back. You know, now the type of training that we did back then, I wouldn't do now. You know, it's like, I'd obviously be a lot more, you know, a lot smarter. It's like, you know, you have these guys that just want to just absolutely fucking destroy you. You know, that was kind of the case, but it made me want more, you know? So I kept coming back, and then I got introduced to Metroflex. You know, it was like, it's funny because Metroflex was always right around the corner, but I never knew where it was. I couldn't find it. It was like it's like a space. And I finally found it. And that's whenever I got introduced to like Brian Dobson and Randy De La Cruz. He's the owner of Metroflex Fort Worth, the Castle. But he was just a personal trainer there at the time. And Brian put me through some posing. Had a lot of fun, man. But it was just like, you know, I finished the prep. My friend didn't finish the prep. I ended up placing 4th out of 5th in the teenage class that year. You know, like, I obviously, thinking back, I kind of half-assed it a little bit. I had no clue what the hell I was doing, but I had a lot of fun, and I hate losing. So it inspired me to come back the next year and you know, and try again.
That's so cool, man. Now tell me, when Brian Dobson kind of first met you and ran you through some posing, I mean, did he say much to you? I mean, did he say something about your potential, or did he just kind of take a look at you and kind of let you go on your way?
No. I mean, he spent some time with me, man. You know, there, like, I went there multiple times, you know, just leading up. I mean, at that time, man, like, yeah, they can, you know, see your potential as far as like having, you know, the symmetry. Cause that's what the guy that, you know, that I ran into at the gym, he was like, man, have you ever thought about doing bodybuilding? He's like, you know, you have a very symmetrical physique, you know, very balanced. You know, it's like, this could be something you could look into. And same thing with Brian. You know, it was the same thing with all of them. Like, it's like they can see, you know, what's there. Obviously, when you're young and you have no clue what the hell's going on, you kind of just go about things as they go. So, but yeah, I mean, you know, obviously everything started to kind of take place as time went on. And, you know, at that point I could start seeing it myself.
Absolutely, man. So talk to me, as you were finishing up high school, Jon, what were you kind of hoping to do after high school? Were you going to go to college? Did you go to college? Talk about those first few years after you graduated.
Yeah, so I mean, I went to college. I went the community college route. You know, at that time, I knew what I wanted to do. I knew that I wanted to be involved in something when it came to like health and fitness. But I really, really love nutrition. There wasn't really any nutrition or dietetics degrees here in Texas that I could find. So other than TCU, and I wasn't going to put myself in some ridiculous amount of debt in order to, you know, get a piece of paper, essentially. So I actually, man, I was like a semester and a half away from graduating. I kind of just quit. And, you know, I started like, you know, just racking up certifications and, you know, kind of learning things outside of school. And I found that helped me a lot more. And then, of course, just being able to apply things with myself and working with people at the time. Like, I started actually, you know, working with clients for free. I trained people for free for over a year, just to kind of like, you know, obviously, because I wanted to help people get in shape like that. I figured out my purpose in life at that time, and even now I feel was to just, you know, make the world a better place, you know, with, you know, helping people get their health and fitness together. I find that that's one thing that I feel like is lacking quite a bit. And, you know, especially with the current times that we're in now, I feel like it's rather apparent that these things need to be emphasized more with people. And then from there, that's whenever I started to, like, obviously, you know, work with people and whatnot on a more consistent basis, on a professional basis. But let's see. So at that time, I did the teen nationals. I won my class. It was a very, very controversial teen nationals at the time, because the guy that had essentially won the overall was 20 years old. And we're in a team fucking competition. So, and they were gonna let him get away with it. But at the time, the boards, everything was like, on the boards at the time, and everyone was like just destroying the kid. I feel bad for him because he's disappeared since then. But they obviously gave me my rightful placing, but I didn't get to do the overall, which I'm almost certain I would have won the overall at that time. And at that time, teen nationals was a big deal, for the, like, it was much more emphasis back then than it is now. I feel like no one really cares about it anymore. Where back then it was like, if you won, like you really were able to, like, you see a lot of the guys end up turning pro and, making something out of themselves. But again, the whole situation of bodybuilding is completely different than what it was whenever I first started with social media and everything now. So because of that, I came back and I did the collegiate nationals, and I won that when I was 21, won the overall, because I needed to win on that stage. That was like, it was just a thing for me. And then, so that was at 21. I was attempting to do the USA's 22, and it didn't go so well. I ended up like over dieting, and yeah, it was crazy. So I didn't compete. And then from there, that point on, I started to do things on my own. I started to just coach myself.
So let's talk about that, because that's kind of something nowadays, because of social media, Jon. There's a million different coaches out there. Some of them are legit, some of them aren't. But from your perspective, from your experiences, and this is maybe speaking to some of the younger listeners or people that are just maybe getting their feet wet in bodybuilding, what would you suggest in terms of finding a coach, coaching yourself, finding the right coach? Just speak on that for a minute, if you don't mind.
Man, like, so with me, what I always wanted to bring forth was like, what do I expect out of my coach? What would I want? Communication is a big thing. Obviously, someone that knows what the hell they're doing. They have plenty of work, behind them, to where you can see, as far as like just application with clients. Those are obviously two big things. And then of course, like one of the biggest things was communication, man. So it's like, when I work with my clients, like I make sure that, I'm available, now, of course, there's obviously boundaries that need to be set, because I have a life, and I want to make sure that, I can separate business and my own personal life, which these are things that I learned over time, of course, being able to create that balance. But yeah, that's one of the biggest things, man. I find that, like, if you don't talk to your clients, then I feel like they tend to kind of go astray. There are some that are like myself, that I can just have a plan and I can talk to in a week. But then there's those that need to be spoken to every now and then throughout the week, and need words of encouragement and, so forth. Obviously having a background of some sort as well, I'm sure plays, can play a vital role. But I think, like you mentioned, with the way social media is now, everyone and their mother wants to be a coach. I have clients that I help get in shape, and all of a sudden they're 2 weeks later, I'm now offering services. Like, all right, like, let's not forget that, like, I obviously helped you get there. But no, I mean, at the end of the day, like, I always like to praise the individual, because I mean, at the end, they're the ones putting in the work anyways. Now, of course, having the knowledge and the expertise and some accountability behind it plays a vital role, but yeah.
So, I know from your Instagram, you've got Coach Chris in your corner now. So throughout your competitive career, did you have, what's that?
Oh, Chris Bearcat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You've got, so Coach Chris Bearcat's your coach currently, right?
No. So we stopped working together. I mean, he's obviously still a friend of mine. For the last 6 or so weeks, I've been working with Andrew Vu. So just because there was another level that I needed to kind of, because it had been a while since I tried to compete at a high level. 2016 was the last time I actually prepped. Like, I did this whole vegan experiment and shit in 2018, but I honestly don't count that. So it's been 5 years. So with that being said, like, obviously I've prepped multiple people, helped people turn pro and stuff, but you know, it's not you. So, and I'm very conservative when it comes to things, you know, so it's like, I had to kind of get a different opinion when it came to, like, you know, just the other aspect of bodybuilding.
So what I'm trying to get at then, Jon, you know,
Yep.
for the people that are listening, would you recommend, if they're just getting their feet wet in bodybuilding, would you recommend them searching out and finding a coach right away? Or would you recommend them trying to learn their body on their own, and then at some level, maybe seeking a coach?
Now, I think having a coach right away would be more ideal, just because you wouldn't, you'll avoid wasting your time. I have people that contact me every single day, and, you know, I get these messages all the time, like, hey, I've been trying to do this for X amount of months, and I've been spinning my wheels. I mean, I have clients that are the same way, like, you know, I've tried this or that and the other, and it's because they have no clue what they're doing. This is where hiring someone that's actually, you know, knowledgeable and can take you where you want to go, plays a vital role, because you're removing all those baby steps along the way. You're just getting straight to the point and being able to, again, but it all matters. Like, what matters most is if the individual is able to actually do it, you know, and listen, you know, because it takes action. But yeah, I would certainly hire someone rather than try it on your own and waste your time. Because I mean, like, had I found someone to work with in the very beginning, then I'm almost certain that there was a lot of steps that I would have been able to kind of, you know, overcome much sooner than whenever I did. Because like I said, but at the same time, again, we didn't have social media back then like it is now. So I wasn't able to just kind of reach out and stuff. You know, and then Lee, the guy that I was helping, that was helping me whenever I was a kid, the plan that he had written out for me, I wouldn't fucking give to anyone ever. I think it's horrendous. And it's really stupid. It's really stupid, to be honest. So it's like, this is where you're able to, and this is nothing, you know, as far as against him, but like, it is what it is, you know? So that's where, again, this is where being able to find someone that, you know, is actually quite good, you know, word of mouth is going to be the biggest thing, you know, being able to, like, if you have friends that work with somebody, like, more likely you're going to be able to find someone that matches you, your personality and so forth that way, as opposed to just randomly, you know, searching someone.
Makes a lot of sense, man. I appreciate you touching on that. So I want to step back into your competing. So talk about, you know, and I saw this again on your Instagram, and you mentioned a little bit, but 2016 was kind of the last time that you, what you said on your IG, did like a serious prep, right?
Yep.
And then you competed earlier this year at the North Americans, and then you're like 9 days out from Nationals. Is that all correct?
That is correct.
Okay. So what was that gap between 2016 and earlier this year competing at North Americans?
Like, what was the gap as far as what was I doing?
Yes.
Oh man, you know, so 2012, like when I said you know, that happened, over dieting and stuff, it jaded me a lot because I put so much into it. I put a lot of money and time and effort, and, you know, the things that we do to ourselves isn't the best. So it almost created this mindset that I would never go all in ever again, which was probably the best thing I could have done, you know, because it made me look at things much differently. And at that point, I started to kind of just, you know, focus on business. Number one, you know, you're going to find that a lot of these bodybuilders are broke. They have no money. They rely on God knows whatever it is, you know, to get by. And they're idiots, honestly. Like, there are a lot of them are really fucking dumb. Sorry, just for a lack of better words, they're stupid. So I chose not to be one of those idiots. You know, I focused on business, built my online coaching business up. I started traveling. And to me, traveling, because it's like I could, and this is funny, man, because this is where it all started. I'm like, I have $5,000 saved up. I could either pay this coach this $5,000 because this is what these top coaches charge, or I can take this $5,000 and go take a trip and fucking build some memories and have some fun. So that's what I started doing. I had a friend that was stationed in Portugal at the time, So I booked the flight and stayed with him for 2 weeks, and it completely changed my perspective on life and just everything, man, because it's like I was able to see life from a different lens, going out and, because I hadn't been outside of the country since I was a child. And that really sparked my interest in just being able to explore. And yeah, like because of that, I've traveled to probably I would say over 25 different countries since then. I've met lots of people. I mean, I still am friends with a lot of people that I meet overseas and in these other places that I was able to visit actually just recently. Like I met some people in Bangkok that, that are German or Danish, that I'm able to go to Germany and go hang out with them, and go to Denmark and spend time with them. Having clients around the world that I'm able to go visit, and go hang out with and get to know, on a much better level than just, us being able to communicate through the phone and stuff. So yeah, that's where a lot of that gap was filled, was just like, I just like to travel, man, and whenever I get the urge, then it's like, all right, I guess I can go all in and prep for a show. And that's kind of what happened with this last year. Like I intended to compete the last couple of years, but I just wasn't mentally ready. Every time I would start, I'm not going to say that I had a bad relationship with food, because I wouldn't it depends on your perspective on things. I feel like my relationship with food was great, but as far as trying to diet, it wasn't necessarily the best. Right. So it's like, cause you have to be all in. And every time I would try to start, it just wasn't working. And then I would obviously stop, and then I would go and book a flight somewhere and go have some fun and keep working the business.
So I want to ask you, before we get to North Americans earlier this year, I want to ask you, when you started doing all this traveling, Jon, what was it that you kind of discovered about yourself, or what was it that you learned about yourself? Because I feel like, not that you really said anything about this, but I feel like just you sharing that little bit, there was some sort of personal discovery that happened. And if you don't mind, what was that during that time?
And it's a great question. To be honest, man, I feel like the biggest thing is just what traveling does for me is like, people, I don't know, like how can I put this as in a relatable terms? Like if I'm not feeling my best, or if I need just some space or something, man, like for me to be able to just go to another country and explore and visit, different sites, historical sites and temples. And it's like, it's a form of rehab, or in a way, like, because it allows me to be present. I'm not focused on what's on my device. I'm not focused on this, that, and the other. I'm focused on what's in front of me and what I'm doing right then and there. So I feel like that is what it was. It was like being able to find peace and be present and be in the moment and remain in that place. And, and to be honest, traveling is actually much cheaper than people like to believe. When you're able to visit some of these countries, man, like a lot of the countries are super duper cheap. Like the most expensive thing is just to fly there. And then once you get there, being able to get a place on Airbnb or, even the hotels are nothing, so it's like, it doesn't really cost much to travel. I think people are just afraid. I actually talked to a buddy of mine, and he said that he was scared to leave because of terrorists. And I'm like, but okay, how many times have there been terrorist attacks? Like, not very many. So it's like, you can sit here and be scared of things and basically live your life in fear, or you can fucking just go about things and enjoy. And yeah, so I choose to live.
Beautiful, man. Talk to me about the vegan experiment that you kind of alluded to earlier.
Man, so that was fun. Like, I honestly, dude, I started that just because at the time I was going through like a difficult breakup, man, I'm not gonna lie. And my eating habits had kind of gone by the wayside. I was eating out way too much. I was going out, like doing things that it's not typical for me. I was, my friends were trying to help me, and they were like, hey, let's go out. And then of course, we're getting drunk, eating like shit, not treating my body very well. So my way of just being able to develop a little, bring back that discipline again, was just, I kind of like did a little bit of an elimination diet. And so yeah, I actually started just kind of doing like vegetarian. I was like, I'm going to cut out meat, but I'd still have like cheese, eggs, and things like that. And I did that for a few weeks. And then a buddy of mine at the time, was kind of seeing what I was doing, and he's vegan, and he's like, man, you might as well just kind of go all in and, you know, check it out, see how you feel. Da, 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 da. So we ended up linking up. And then the vegan army got to me, man. They fucking got to me. They brainwashed me a bit, because it is a level of brainwashing. You know, because you like, the thing about me is like, I always want to do the right thing, you know, and it's like, you can sit there and listen to them and feel and it feels right. But when you actually dive deeper into things, then you realize that there's an agenda involved. And that's what made me stop.
Was there any positives that you took away from that experiment?
Yeah, like, I mean, man, I'm very much an experimental person. So like, I tried different things like high protein versions. I tried just eating fruits, like nothing but fruits for an extended period. I mean, man, I didn't cook a single meal, I remember, for 8 months. I didn't bring my pots and pans out of my cupboards for a very long time. And I mean, and I honestly, I genuinely enjoyed it. I felt great, but it wasn't conducive to bodybuilding. None of it was. Not the protein version. You know, I just find that there's just, when you're trying to be a bodybuilder and be vegan, you're eating highly processed foods very often. And I couldn't sit here and say that this was healthy. And, you know, these guys, the vegan people, will sit here and try to convince you that it's, oh yeah, it's plant-based. It's not. It's not. And I mean, I'm not going to offend people, so I'll leave it there.
That sounds good. Although I think what you said about bodybuilders earlier, you might have offended a few people, Jon, right?
I know. Sorry.
It's all good, man. We're having a great chat. So let's speed things up here. What lit your fire to prep this year and compete in the North Americans, where you took second place in the super heavyweights?
So I was gonna compete last year, and then of course the whole pandemic situation happened. After that, once that started, I got into a little bit of a powerlifting phase. I was working with this guy, Josh Bryant, Jailhouse Strong. So we worked on building my bench. So we did a whole video series, 12-week series. Got my bench from 455 pounds to almost 600 pounds in 12 weeks. It was pretty crazy. But because of that, I had to be super consistent with my nutrition. I was very consistent with the training program, and it lit the fire as far as like just having that overall consistency. So, you know, I wanted to, so I made the decision that, you know, come the new year, that I would find a show, and I would go all in, and I would do whatever it takes. So that's kind of what happened.
So talk to me about getting second place. I mean, that's for taking that much time off and then stepping back on a national stage, getting second place. That's pretty legit, my man. So just talk about that show day, that experience, and did that kind of just increase that fire to continue on to compete at nationals next weekend?
Yes and no. So this prep was a bit stressful. You know, I'd gone through a breakup, man. You know, I was with my girlfriend for 4.5 years. And so like, this was all happening like towards the tail end of the prep. And it was tough, man. It was tough because I was having to block a lot of things out, you know, like I had to almost be emotionless in a sense, because like I had to, So it really, actually, by the time I got to North Americans, I mean, it was great. I could have been better. I should have been better. I'm not going to put any blame on anybody or anything. But I mean, man, when you're dealing with stressful stuff like this, it takes a toll. You know, it takes a toll. And it made it hard for me to just like to really, really finish strong. I did what I could. Now, with that being said, it was nice to finish second. I felt great. But to be honest, I was burnt the fuck out. Like I didn't even want to work out after. Which has never happened to me. Normally, next day after a show, I'm ready to hop back in the gym and get after it. But because of, you know, the situation that I was dealing with, like I wanted to just stop and I honestly, I had no clue what the hell I was going to do. But because I like to live a healthy lifestyle, I still kept going to the gym. I wasn't following any single program. I was just doing like 30, 45 minutes cardio a day. I would do total body workouts. You know, they would probably be like 30, 40 minutes long. That's it. And I was keeping my body moving. because of course I'm still eating a little bit of food, and I want to make sure that I'm keeping things going. I'm not trying to turn into a total fat ass like some of these people end up doing. We've been there and done that. But I had a good break. So I had some trips planned right after. I had a friend's wedding in Mexico planned for the following week. That was a 4-day trip. And then I had a month trip planned out in Europe. So I went to Denmark, Germany, and Italy. And with that trip, it was able to give me my fire back. Just being able to go out there and work out with my friends and just, get in the groove. Cause when I'm home, like, honestly, I work out by myself a lot. So sometimes you'll get in your own head, but whenever you're, with your buddies and stuff, like, you're able to kind of just go about things as they are. And it lit my fire again to kind of get after it. So my friends in Denmark, they tried to convince me to do the Amateur Olympia out there, which was November 20th. And I intended to do it, but they closed the registration down early, like 2 weeks early, which was weird. So that's what pushed me to do nationals, because I was already all in. I wasn't going to stop. I was just going to do the next show up. And this what happened to be the next one. But it all worked out because I still needed more time. Like, having the break and stuff, man, like, I needed to kind of get back into the groove of things. And yeah, it all worked out.
Excellent. So are you planning to earn your IFBB Pro card at Nationals this year then?
That's the plan. I hope so.
You hope so, or so? Tell me, Jon. Come on now.
I mean, I feel good. But to be honest, man, like, I'm very modest, man. I don't like to assume things. I could sit here and say that, I'm going to win, but you never know these things. All I can do is continue to work hard every single day, give it my all, and let everything play itself out whenever that time comes on stage.
100%, man. No, I definitely respect that humility, dude. Talk to me a little bit, Jon, about training philosophy. Has it changed over the years? Just touch on that for a couple minutes, if you don't mind, please.
Yeah. So as far as training philosophy, to be honest, the person that I gained the most from over the years was John Meadows. I had done my own training up until the point of 2013. And actually I reached out to him to prep with him, but at the time I wasn't necessarily a fan of the methods as far as like with his nutrition and stuff. And so I'm not going to lie. I let him know. I was like, hey, I don't think that this is the best for me. But the training, on the other hand, I really, really enjoyed, and I loved his philosophy. It really changed my perspective overall when it came to training, because like what I did back then, I would say is similar to how the guys now are doing as far as like just that top set and so forth. That's pretty much what I did. But I felt like it limited my ability. Like, I was strong, but I didn't feel like I was actually getting as much volume as I needed. And that's where Jon came into play, because it just showed me that I was missing out on a lot. And from that point, my physique actually grew quite a bit. So like it was kind of crazy. So, as a team, I was here. I think I was like 180 some pounds. And then once I jumped into collegiates, I competed at about 210. And then I stayed close within that range, around 210, 215 for a couple years. And then once I got with Jon with training, then I blew up again, another 20 pounds. I was competing around 230-ish.
Super cool, man. So what is like a typical training split, whether it's in prep, outside of prep? What does a typical week of a training split kind of look like?
So right now I'm doing like a push-pull. So back, pull, push, legs, and then do that twice, sequence, 1 day off. So 6 days a week. Occasionally I would take an additional day off, just depending on how my body's recovering and how I'm feeling. But I really like that because it allows me to be able to train every body part twice per week. I find that, higher frequency is good when it comes to trying to bring up, different body parts and stuff. And the more we're able to train a specific body part and allow the body to recover, I feel like it allows for more growth. The science shows us that as well. In the off season, I will dial it back 4 or 5 days a week, for periods. And then of course, if there's times where I'm like, all right, now it's time to be able to focus on this specific area. Like I want to bring up my delts, then we'll look to train that area twice a week and so forth. But yeah, push pull legs is typically the split that I like the most.
Excellent. So I want to go back to your coaching and kind of how you develop that business, right? Because like you said, sometimes people within bodybuilding maybe don't choose to use their time or their finances wisely, and you've chosen to grow a business along with competing. So talk about, you already said that you train people for free for first year, coach people for free for the first year, but just talk about the evolution of your business and how your bodybuilding and your physique kind of tie into the growth of that business, or if it doesn't.
Yeah, I would say initially it did. I mean, like whenever I started, I had coached, Cody Montgomery. We won the Teen Nationals we were undefeated, won the Teen Nationals 3 years in a row together. He won the Collegiate Nationals as well that last year. I'd worked with quite a few competitors. I mean, and that's where it all started, but it was more competition-based coaching at that time. It wasn't until I would say 2018 that I started to kind of look at things a bit differently. And like, I don't coach many competitors now. Like I might have a couple handful, man, at the most. I started switching over to mainly lifestyle clients because I just realized that there was no real longevity when it came to working with competitors. They're going to stick with you for 8, 12, 16 weeks, and then they're gone. Now with working with lifestyle clients, like the whole goal is for them to be able to kind of just change up everything about themselves. That takes time. You have to let go of old habits, develop new habits, and and being able to teach these people. And I find that they're just more grateful, man. Like it's like if you can change that person's life, that's something that they're going to take on for the rest of their lives. And and it's not that I need any sort of validation whatsoever, but it's just nice to know that you've done something great for somebody, and you've been able to change somebody's perspective on just their way of life and overall living. I have clients that like their doctors lie to them, man, and tell them that, they're going to be stuck on these certain medications and stuff. And it's only true if you don't change your lifestyle. But I tell them, change your lifestyle, and I guarantee you don't have to take these for the rest of your life. And that's happened multiple times. Being able to, take an obese person and have them, fit and healthy, and just being able to actually fulfill, live a fulfilling life and not be a slave to their own body. So that's whenever I changed that's whenever I felt like things really started to blossom, and it brought more joy into what I do.
Has Instagram and social media, specifically Instagram, has that been a big role in the growth of your business?
100%. Without social media, man, like, I mean, back in the day, I built it strictly off word of mouth. So even if we didn't have Instagram or anything, I would still do very well because I was doing very, very well even back then, whenever it wasn't a thing. But now it just, it opens you up to being able to really, really expand and work things on a different level, which is kind of where I'm at now.
How do you, so practically speaking, you don't have to give away your secrets or anything, but practically speaking, how do you kind of specifically use Instagram, to gain more clients or to grow that business?
Man, so like I haven't been doing so much of it now. I'm not gonna lie. With prep, it takes up a lot of my mental space. So I haven't really pushed so much, but I mean, like I do have somewhat of a method as far as like with posting and kind of sequences of posts. And there's just also things we can do with stories and call to actions, things like that. But nothing works better than results. Posting client transformations, that alone, I can post a client transformation and I'll have handful of people hit me up instantly within the next few hours, which is great. That's the good thing about social media, is being able to open those things up and it allows you to work with anyone around the world, so it is a beautiful thing.
For sure, man. We're going to wrap it up here in a few minutes. Jon, I want to touch on a couple more things. Has there been, as an adult now, has there been anybody that's really positively influenced your life, maybe a mentor or somebody of that nature that you just kind of want to speak about in terms of how they've positively impacted your life?
Man, so let's go back to my first mentor in life, I would say, is Sagi Kalev. So he was based out of here in Dallas, Israeli bodybuilder. He's actually one of the faces of Beachbody now. He owns, like, he's what is it called? Body Beast. Yeah, Body Beast program. So, you know, but he was the first person that really helped me when it came to like just getting involved in bodybuilding and fitness at a much higher level. Believe it or not, my friend Mark from Denmark. So when I met him, you know, we, and this is actually going back to one of your previous questions, man. When I met him, man, like, he's very successful. Him and his buddies had built a very successful online coaching out there in Denmark. Denmark is not a very big country. With that being said, like, this guy, I don't even think he had an apartment or a place, but he made his money, but he lived kind of like a nomad. And like, he just lived out of his backpack and rode his backpack everywhere, or he lived out of his backpack and rode his bicycle everywhere. And that to me was very intriguing, like, because I'm just like, man, like, he had nothing tying him down. And that to me was like, it was just beautiful, man. Cause like, I was just like, wow, this is freedom, you know? And it's like, at any point he can just pick up his shit and leave. And like, you know, so that's whenever I actually met him in Bangkok. And that was why I decided to go there, to Thailand. And, you know, meeting him changed my perspective on life completely. You know, now obviously we're adults now. We've, you know, I've known him for 8 years now. And, you know, he has his place, he has a nice car and so forth. But like, you know, he's getting ready to have a child. So life has come, you know, full circle a bit. But it just showed me the importance of what life is truly about. And you don't need things to be happy. You know, it's like, it's about experiences. And just being able to, again, be present, man. And he's one of the main people that I would say really influenced my way of thinking and, you know, just how I saw life. Cause like, even now, man, like, you know, when I remember whenever I came home, I got rid of 90% of my clothes. I freaking sold my car. I got rid of my apartment, and I lived like a nomad for like half a year. I went back to Thailand. I visited Vietnam, stayed there for a few weeks, went back to Denmark. Like, I just, yeah, I lived out of my suitcase, man. It was fun.
Very cool. Are you pretty close with Joe Mackey?
Yeah. He was actually, he was my training partner for a while. And, you know, I helped him with training him whenever he was doing the Tampa Pro last year. So yeah. Matter of fact, we were just talking yesterday.
Talk about that relationship a little bit, because he's been on the podcast. Super chill, cool dude, and it seems like he would have a lot to pass on to you. So just talk about Joe for a minute. I
mean, Joe's just really chill guy, man. Super chill, very laid back. You know, strong as shit. So he definitely makes a great training partner whenever, and we push each other. You know, it's like there's areas that he's much stronger than me, and I'm stronger than him in certain areas. But it's just that level of competition, man. But it's just, you know, being able to have a good friend, you know, someone you can talk to and just be able to relate to, you know, when it comes to this space, because it's not very typical. We're not your average human being. But yeah, Joe's a very good guy. And it's been awesome, you know, having him as a friend over the years and knowing him for as long as I have.
Excellent, man. So this is kind of a fun question I asked some of my guests, especially when I know you train at Destination Dallas. You got some crazy gyms down there in Texas, but who's the freakiest bodybuilder that you've seen in person?
In person, I would say Rolly. I remember seeing him train, and they were doing a photo shoot. This was at the old Metroflex. This was before it was called Destination. And they were doing a photo shoot with BSN. This is whenever he was with BSN. And it was just crazy, dude. His fucking arms were insane. like his triceps, dude, is just crazy, man, being able to see that. But just like face to face, I would say definitely Rolly.
Awesome, man. All right, man. I want to wrap this up. In terms of your bodybuilding future, goals, vision, aspirations, what is it? And then on top of that question, same question for business. So bodybuilding future goals, business future goals.
Man, so with bodybuilding, to be honest, man, it's like a day-to-day thing for me. You know, it's like you know the aspects of bodybuilding that aren't the greatest for your health. And those are things that I constantly think about, which is why I spend so much time away, because I don't want this to be my life. It doesn't bring me finances. I don't get paid from it. You know, it's not like I'm a professional and I can get a paycheck out of it. Now, of course, even if I did turn pro, you know, I always try to find the best way to go about things and not necessarily have to push the boundaries so much. You know, I always try to focus on being able to work my hardest in the gym and do everything outside of that part to ensure that I can be the best that I can be. To be honest, if that wasn't a part of bodybuilding, I would say that I would want to continue doing this for some time. But since it is, and I find it to be very dangerous, I don't know. I have a time limit. You know, I don't know if it's going to be this year or next year, but I definitely don't want to go past 35. So I've set that limit for myself because I've been doing this long enough. At that point, it'll be basically 15 years diving into this world. So that's quite some time, man. You know, and it's I've put my body through a lot. Now, that's why, and again, it's like, if there's money involved to where I can actually make something out of it, then I'm sure my perspective might change a little bit. But with that being said, like, I'd rather focus on business. I'd rather be looking to impact more people's lives. And, you know, because if I could do this shit for free, man, I would do it. I would do it for free. I would coach people for free. I would help people for free. But obviously I have to make a life and I have to pay bills. And there's things that, you know, that I have to do for myself. So it's like, you know, I have to charge and do stuff like that. So that's the next step. So once I'm done with nationals, then it's like, I'm going back all in with the business and looking to expand that and possibly, you know, have some coaches underneath me and look to expand it in other ways. So, but these are just talks that, you know, I have with some of my partners, figuring out the best way to go about things.
Excellent, Jon. So I just want to thank you for chopping up with me, man. It was a refreshing conversation just because there's more to your life than bodybuilding. And I appreciate you opening up and touching on some of those aspects of who you are, Jon. If somebody wants to connect with you on social media, if somebody wants to follow along your experiences in life, where can they find you? And then if you do have any final thoughts or words that you want to share that. Sponsors, the platform is yours, and then I'll close us out.
Cool. So definitely shout out to the sponsors, Gas, Better Bodies. They've been supplying me with awesome clothes. You see, I'm wearing it now. This is literally all that I wear pretty much. They're amazing, you know, and it's great that they're right here in my backyard. You know, Michael Johansson owns Destination. So they're number one, Project AD, for providing me with the best supplements. And I mean, and I'm with AD because they are truly the best. They really are. I mean, Joe Binley, the owner of the company, is a freaking genius. And like, I would never put my name behind something unless it was actually legitimate. And that's another thing about me is like, I don't pair with people or things or entities or companies if I don't find them to fall in line with who I am as an individual. So, you know, he also owns Professor Nuts. So yeah, if you haven't tried Professor Nuts, definitely give it a try. It's one of the best things ever invented. I've been eating the shit out of it since I've been prepping. And then of course, who else? That's it. You know, as far as sponsors, like my two sponsors, where you can find me, obviously Instagram, JON_IZZY. After the show, I'll be putting up more YouTube videos. I was trying to do more of the prep stuff, but to be honest, man, it's just, I don't have the space for it in my head to vlog and do all these things. So, but after the fact, I'll be in the zone, and I'll definitely be including more and, you know, do talks like this as well. If you want to visit me as far as my business, you can visit my website, www.jifitness.com. And yeah, man, last words, live life, honestly. Like there's too many people that like to live in a hole. They put themselves in this little cocoon and they don't actually enjoy life itself. I know it's hard with the way things are in the world right now, because there's so much uncertainty, but I find that if you just allow yourself to live in the moment and be present, then, you can make the best and enjoy things, even though things aren't the greatest at the moment.
Perfect, man. Thank you so much, Jon, for sharing your story. I appreciate it.
Hey, thanks you.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. So all of you who once again are tuning into another episode of Behind the Muscle podcast, thank you so much. If you guys would just do me a few huge favors, hit that subscribe button. If you're on YouTube, make sure you hit the like button. And then also, I would love to hear any feedback or comments that you have from the conversation with Jon. Definitely a very well-rounded individual. There's more to his life than just bodybuilding. So just leave in the comment section on YouTube, maybe what your favorite part of Jon's story was, or the favorite part of something that he shared with all of us today. And then one final favor I'd ask of all of you, take this episode of Jon's, share it on your Instagram stories. Make sure you tag Jon, tag Behind the Muscle, so that we know that you listened to this episode specifically and found great value in it. And then finally, I will leave you all with this. Remember, behind the muscle, there's always a story. We'll catch you guys later.